Hey everyone, it's Jory. I really hope that you're enjoying these episode replays for the summer, as they are some of the top downloaded and most referred to episodes that I continue to send out to people. Today's episode is moving beyond relationships. So we've covered some of the top conversations I've had around relationships. And this conversation is with Emily King, who is a wealth and abundance coach. And she talks about money and mindset. And let me tell you, it is phenomenal. I personally have gained so much from this conversation. She has shifted so much for me, and I know for so many of you listeners. So I hope that you enjoy this replay with Emily. Don't forget, there's a lot of links in the show notes for you to check out for my Get Unstuck assessment. You can sign up for the Journey Forward Method course, which starts on September 9th. The earlier you sign up, the greater amount of time you've got to access the bonus courses, which are phenomenal resources that I want to make sure you get the most out of. And we've got a couple more weeks until the Marival Women's Retreat. So if you're interested in joining, go sign up today. The link is in the show notes. I really hope you enjoy this conversation with Emily. Take care and be well.
Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Jory Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Jory is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Jory.
Hi, and welcome back to Journey Forward with Jory Rose. I'm so excited to have Emily King on today. And she and I met a couple of months ago at a conference and was definitely one of those people like I saw across the room. It's like, I don't know you yet, but I want to know you. Like something about you, just I wanted to be your friend and wanted to get to know you. So I'm so glad we've continued the relationship and talking outside of when we first met. So thank you so much for sharing your time and space with us today. So introduce yourself to our listeners.
Well, thank you for having me. And likewise, you and I both were like, oh, we need to talk. Like, we need to get to know each other. Yeah. So hello, listeners. Yes, my name is Emily King, and I'm founder of The Rich Woman. So I'm a money mindset coach, wealth and abundance coach. And I like to say my little catchphrase is I help women increase their income and their impact. So
I love that.
Yeah, because I mean, if I would add a third, it'd be just to, truly live a rich life in all ways possible. So I'm about the money mindset first and foremost. Let's get that, really solid, feeling really amazing about money in your life and all that good stuff so we can grow a thriving business. But let's also remember that as we grow our business and our bank account, our income increases, but also our impact, and then how amazing we feel. And then I just find in my life, it's impacted all areas of my life when I've increased my financial wealth.
Well, and it's like this abundance mindset. I think people think of abundance just as money. And yeah. I have a daily meditation practice, and one of the things that I meditate on is abundance. And it's not just money. I mean, money is great, and it's about opportunity. It's about impact. It's about community. It's about people coming into my life. How can I be in service of others, right? Abundance is exactly what you're talking about. It's all those things.
Yeah.
But people get really stuck.
Mm-hmm. So, you know what? Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
It just dropped into my brain. Because manifesting is a big thing. Like people love learning about manifesting. Like a lot of my audience, they love Abraham Hicks. They love like Gabby Bernstein. They love all law of attraction kind of stuff. And speaking of abundance, there's one thing that I shared a little while ago that really resonated about manifesting, which is when we think about what we want to get, like, I want to have a 5K month. I want to have a 10K month, whatever it is in our business, or maybe it's not even financially related. On the flip side of that, if I were to sit here and say, I really want to have a 5K month in my business, the best way to get into the energetic alignment with that is to think, how can I give 5,000 of value into the world this month? Yeah. So flipping it from I'm trying to get to, I'm going to give the hell out of this 5K this month.
I love that reframe. I'm all about the reframe because I think we get stuck in seeing things only in one way. Mm-hmm. And that's where our mindsets don't serve us, right? So to be able to say, how can
I offer this much value to the world or to my community or to my clients or whoever is listening out in the ethers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm huge about manifestation. And I have to say, I am a manifester. I have manifested almost everything that I have intended. And I do joke, I do have a magic wand, and I have I do have a little pin on the end of my magic wand that is Tinkerbell, that has a little jar of pixie dust, because I'm all about the woo-woo. But manifestation is also about action, right? It's intention plus action. And I think people get stuck, at least I see, on thinking, oh, if I just wish it, it will come. Well, yeah, but you still got to check your mindset. And then what are you doing for action towards that? So how do you help people in that manifestation, in bringing that income and impact into their lives?
Okay, so I have I'll back up. Before I share one of my favorite quotes that I share with my clients, I'll back up and share like a brief little story. So I caught myself in the beginning of my business, and I'm sure many people can relate, where we read the self-help books and we watch the freebie videos and we listen to the podcast and absorb all the information, and we never implement. And I was a year and a half. I even went to a Tony Robbins event. Now, he's phenomenal, and I have gone to more events with him. And even after that, I still was doing nothing. And I was like, Emily, this is ridiculous, woman. So I decided that I was going to start to take action. And I have this saying where I say, mindset without action is bullcrap. or the real curse word in there, right? It's bull, right? If we are saying the things and talking the talk but walking no walk, at the end of the day we are still stuck. Yeah. So here's the thing that most people wait for in order to take action, and that is alignment. And while I am all about alignment, and I love the feeling of alignment, and I love the feeling of flow, and I love inspiration, and I love meditation and tuning inwards and all that good stuff, one of the egos, and I refer to ego, just in case your audience doesn't know, like as that like fearful voice, right? Like So one of the ego's sneakiest ways that it tries to self-sabotage us is say, in my case, like, Emily, you don't feel totally aligned yet. Just wait a minute. Just hold off on that implementation of that idea, because your energy is off, Emily. So don't do that. If you put that out into the world, it's going to put out a weird, and so that is the ego's biggest way of stopping us in this manifestation process. So to all that I say is the biggest.
And I would just want to interject there too. Our ego is really good friend with our inner critic.
Aha, yeah.
Right? Like, I think the two of them hang out up there somewhere, and it's like, how can we just screw up your plans by thinking we're not good enough, it's not possible, I'm not worthy, like all those stories that we tell ourselves, and not only tell ourselves, believe, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you an interesting thing is that for a year, it was definitely a year, if not a year and a half of that time of reading all the things and not actually doing anything, was for over a year, I sat on an idea about a freebie that I wanted to do that would eventually lead into a paid program. And I sat on it for over a year, telling myself I would do it, but then the inner critic of, you need to tweak this and that, and it just had me stalled for over a year. When I finally, in my case, what was the breaking point for me was, I literally told myself, Emily, if you do not get a client by the end of this month, you are shutting down your business. Because I couldn't handle it anymore. I was like, I'm done with this. So I gave myself an ultimatum. So I was very decisive with like, this is happening. And I also hired a coach at the same time. When I finally put that idea into action, at the time I only had a list of 120 people on my email list. I didn't have a website. I didn't do any Facebook ads. I just had a little small Facebook group. When I put that idea into action, I sold out my group program and brought in over $20,000 of sales.
Wow.
So I was sitting on a $20,000 idea for over a year because I was letting the inner critic, the ego, talk me out of it for so long.
Yeah. And there's fears of what if, there's fears of the unknown. What if I don't succeed? What if no one responds? What if no one likes me? All those what ifs. And I want to, and I think you would agree, but for those listeners who maybe are not in the entrepreneurial world, or who are not focusing on maybe how to bring more money into their life, if maybe, maybe if they're stay-at-home moms, or maybe, whatever the demographic is, I think these concepts go towards whatever it is we're feeling stuck in our life. Because as a mindset coach, we're able to see what's the story you're believing right now. It's that wonderful Brene Brown question. And if you all haven't listened or watched her Brene Brown special on Netflix, I highly recommend it. But she tells a story and asks the question, what's the story you're believing right now?
Yeah.
And it's such a powerful, powerful question. And it sounds like through your own realization is, I was believing I didn't have a good enough idea, or I didn't have the infrastructure, or I didn't have, the knowledge, the know-how, the framework. And we all get stuck on what we don't have, forgetting, wait a second, our magic is deep in there already.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that, because literally within the last hour, I actually had this thought, and it came up now for a reason, and possibly for even this call so I had this woman, I did a session with her 3 years ago when I used to do just one-off sessions. And she reached out to me today, randomly. I haven't spoken to her since that one-off session. And she said, hey, I'm wondering if I can have another session with you. And she happened to just reply to the email that was sent 3 years ago to her with all the session notes, all of our takeaways, all that kind of stuff. And 3 years ago, I was so unsure of myself, and I didn't believe in myself. I believed in myself a little bit more than I didn't, because I obviously took action and had the call with this woman. But it was fascinating looking at this email, and my email I had sent 3 years ago, because I was like, wow, that was a phenomenal email that you sent, Emily. Wow, that's really great wisdom and knowledge and takeaways for her. And it was just oh my goodness, if I had only realized how valuable and how amazing I was back then, not to regret where I am now, but just how amazing and how much further could I be now? And so I had this realization today of just at some point in my life, I'm going to believe I'm worthy of whatever, sitting on a couch next to Oprah, or being on the stage.
Me too.
Right? Or being on stage in front of tens of thousands of people, whatever it is. At some point in my life, I am going to believe that, know that, and attract that into my life. So it might as well start now.
Couldn't hurt.
Right? It might as well
happen. What would happen if you did believe it?
Actually, and it's funny. So last month, just as a side note, I had the best month ever in my business, and I'll show you my screensaver. You can see me on video here. Oh, no, it doesn't really show up. Anyhow, it says, whatever I believe whatever I believe I can achieve, I become.
Absolutely. And again, I think that's true for no matter what it is we're trying to manifest in our life. Because I think at the bottom line, people just want to be happy. I think people want to feel important. I think people want to connect with others. Some of us do that through business. Some of that do that through just our communities. But we all have the same story stuck in our head.
Yeah.
So how do you help people get past that?
Well, it's interesting. I think a good tool for your audience to take away, even just right now, is in money. Let's talk money just for a second. So if somebody wants to be making more money, no matter if you're a stay-at-home mom, no matter if you have a business, no matter if you're working 9 to 5, whatever your situation, if you want to make more money, it's not the money that you actually want. It's what you think it's going to give you. In terms of experiences, in terms of feelings. Because if I said, hey,
opportunity, if anything.
I said, hey, I'm going to give you a check for $10,000, but you're going to feel miserable, you'd be like, ooh, well, I don't know if I really want to take that check from you.
Right.
It's the feeling that we desire. So something that people miss the mark on so much is honing in on what I call the 3 core desired feelings. Of when you get that thing, right, that the ego has you tricked into, you've got to wait until you get that thing and until you can feel amazing. When you get that thing, be it the love of your life, be it, let's use money in this case, be it the $10,000 a month or whatever, how are you going to feel? So quite often I hear people say I'm going to feel such freedom, I'll feel so free. I'll feel excited. I'll feel accomplished, et cetera, et cetera. And so we wouldn't know how we wanted to feel in those specific feelings if we hadn't already felt them before. So for example, excitement, right? Excitement. If you're saying, or freedom, I would feel free if I had that money. Well, you wouldn't be desiring to feel free if you hadn't already experienced freedom in your life already, because you wouldn't know what
having
it is.
A little taste of it. And it's like, give me more, give me more. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if you've already experienced a feeling of freedom in your life, hence why you desire more of that feeling. Well, if you've already experienced freedom in your life without having that thing, be it, let's use the $10,000 a month example. Well, then how do you already have it now? And how can we appreciate that now so that we can attract more of it? And I get it. And listen, I like to say any idiot can feel good when things are going good.
Sure.
That's not true. If I had my best month ever last month in my business, was it hard to feel good? No, it was easy to feel good because I had the physical, manifestation in my bank account of like, woohoo, and the amazing clients to go with it. But here's where we need to step up to the challenge is when things aren't going as planned. Mm-hmm. How do we respond differently? And how do we choose to still find the blessing, the freedom, the whatever it is, despite things not going as planned and still staying committed to the manifestation of it?
I love that. Well, and what I love about that too is what you're really saying is, well, I'll say it this way. When I work with a lot of my clients and, whether they're going through a divorce or having parenting struggles or, any other relationship challenges or self-identity crises of who am I, and they don't think it's going to be possible to get to wherever the magical it is. Like, it's never going to be possible to get there. And one of the things that I will say is, I know you don't believe it yet, but I will hold the space for you that it is possible. Yeah. Because sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get to that belief, because I also think some people may want something they have never fully experienced. They just have had a glimpse, or they've seen someone else have a glimpse. And so part of it is, how can I believe it's possible when, again, that ego or the inner critic is saying, nope, you don't deserve that. Nope, someone else is better than you. Or nope, your clients aren't going to learn enough and you should charge less, and whatever it is. Yeah. So I think part of what you're doing, to me, what it sounds like, is creating the conditions for which they can believe in themselves.
Yeah.
They've never believed it yet, right?
Yeah.
And that's like me saying to my clients, I know you don't believe it yet, but I'm going to hold the space for you, because eventually you will, because I will help continue to create the conditions to be present for you to believe it, as we clear out all the cobwebs of all the bullshit that's getting in the way of you believing it and then manifesting it.
Yeah, exactly. And so in whatever way possible, can we even like 1% believe it, because that's better than nothing. Yes. So if you're like, you know what, I got bills racked up, the tax man is after me, I can't pay for it, rent is due, and but whatever's going on. Okay, well, how do you have freedom already? You have city lights outside. You have a library you can go to. You have possibly a car. If you don't have a car, you have access to public transportation for very inexpensive rates. Like you have, especially like you and I'm in Canada, you're in America. The freedom that we have, some people would die to have the freedom.
Yeah.
Right? And so if we can even find some little taste of that sense of, in this case, the freedom, well, then we become that magnet for more. And as the saying goes, what you appreciate appreciates. So if we can appreciate even just a little fraction of freedom, well, then we are essentially saying, like, universe, God, source, whatever you believe in, I so appreciate where I am right now. And I'm ready to receive more. I'm ready to bring more into my life. Yeah.
And I think I see one of the places where most people get stuck is either, and you said this in the beginning, but thinking all my ducks aren't in a row yet. I can't do it until everything's lined up. And I disagree. Do you disagree with that as well?
Totally. Yeah. Because the ego will have to postpone, delay, procrastinate until the cows come home, whatever it is that you want to do.
And then we can use that to continue to have an excuse.
Because here's the way that I like to work with clients. Okay, we do the mindset work, but alongside of it, I have them taking action of some sort. Because we can do all the inner work, and then we can still, at the end of the day, not take action and then come up with more excuses of, oh, I'm too scared to do this. It's like, let's just show up and do the work. And like one of the biggest things that's been motivating me and helping me move forward, despite not having every, thing perfectly aligned and all that kind of stuff, is this whole notion of give it a B- effort. Because I know, like, for the perfectionists out there listening to this, I'm like, oh my God, I cannot give it a B- effort. Everything needs to be A+, A+, A+. There's no point in trying to create an A+ material or post or whatever it is that you put out or potentially put out there if you never show it to the world.
Yes. Yeah.
And I will tell you, I can't think of one time where I've put out a B- effort and it not resonated in some way, shape, or form with my audience.
Well, and here's the other thing too, which I love about what you're saying about this, is I think it makes you really relatable to other people to attract clients. Yeah. Because I want to show up in my work as a therapist or as a mindfulness and meditation teacher. I want to show up imperfect and human. Because if they can see me being imperfect and human, then they'll be like, oh, thank God she gets me, because I am also imperfect and human. And if I can role model how to authentically be imperfect and human and yet still be happy and successful, or fill in the blank, whatever, what it is that we're all searching for. Because I think it's so easy to put someone on a pedestal, which I think can detract clients at some point. Thinking like, oh, I can never be like her. Yeah. Like, no, actually, I'm pretty imperfect and human. And the difference is I just keep practicing these tools. Exactly. And it's something that my boyfriend and I, who were beginning to do more couples work and leading a couples retreat and doing couples coaching programs. And we just recorded a webinar together on all this stuff. And it wasn't 100% perfect. And that's exactly okay. And I'm the first to say we still get stuck and we're using all these tools. And I want that for people to see the real, like the reality of what success and happiness looks like. It's not this every duck lined in a row. Like, because when are we ever truly going to get that?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So I feel like one of the blessings, if you could call it that, in my life, has been letting go of this perfectionism. And like, just an example, in my career, my work that I do, like I hit 6 figures before I even had a website.
Wow.
Right? Like I just let go of, I need to have this, this, and this, and I need to have this. It was just simply, if it's in you, like I just felt the calling in me to show up and help and serve. And that gets back to one of the very first things we talk about. Like if you want to receive, in this case, a 6-figure year, how can you give over 100,000 of value into the world this year? And so that's what I focus on. Just give with that open channel of receiving, and not needing to get stuck on, I need a website in order to make this money or whatever. It's just letting myself do it imperfectly, letting myself show up to whatever I'm called to do, and just letting that be enough instead of, oh, I need to have this or that or what have you. Yeah.
I love that so much. I really do. And what have you seen, aside from the ego or the inner critic or the ducks in a row, are other places people get stuck? Are there other areas in which prevent that manifestation from occurring, or from allowing that 6-figure income from coming in?
Yeah. Okay. Love that question, because here's one of the biggest things that I say, and I know other people share this, and it's probably something they've heard before, but I'll elaborate. So the biggest thing I see people getting hung up on is not even allowing themselves to ask for what they want. And it doesn't cost us anything to ask for what we want. Like, it's not like, if you write it on paper, you now owe somebody $1,000 for writing that you want to have $1 million business, or you want to have the love of your life, or whatever it is. it doesn't cost us anything to write out our desires on paper. And so many people I see don't even let it be a possibility for themselves.
Yeah.
And so I was sharing this with a client there last month. She reached out to me and she was talking about goal setting and that kind of stuff. And we got talking about it. And here's what I see. And this is what I shared with her. I said, don't change the goal to match your beliefs. Change your beliefs to match the goal where you're going. Mm-hmm. And that's where the work happens. That's where the manifestation happens. So listen, like, ladies and gentlemen, whoever's listening, the most amazing things that I've manifested in my life have come from being audacious and bold and like asking for things that should have never come true for me, like logistically speaking. Mm-hmm. Of like, for example, when I was back in the day working a 9-to-5 job, making $50,000 a year, I was bold enough to say to the universe, I want to build a dream home and I want to make $100,000 from it. Right? I put that out there. That wasn't in the cards for me. I was single at the time, making 50 grand and, didn't have a whole lot of spare income to work with. Right? I put it out there. Within a year, the things aligned, I call them the breadcrumbs aligned, to then have one thing lead to another, where before I knew it, I had the money to buy a piece of land, build this beautiful dream home, and I swear to God, I have a picture of the check almost to the dollar. When I sold that home, I made $100,000 off the sale of that home. Should have never happened, but I just asked. And, you hear this analogy of the GPS, of like plugging in where you want to go and the GPS saying reroute here, like to get to your destination. Yeah. I say we're not even sitting in the damn car putting in the destination.
Yes.
We're sitting back like, oh, I don't know. Could I go there? Maybe it's too hot. Should I go to this spot? Maybe it's
we're standing inside the house going, oh, look at all those other people getting in their car, putting in their GPS, and they're all going where they want. I wish I could do that.
Yeah. It's like woman, you got the GPS there. Plug in where you want to go and see where you end up. Like, you'll be pleasantly surprised, but I can promise you, you will not get anywhere that you don't ask to get to. Like, if you don't plug in the destination, how can you ever expect to go there? It's just crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking of so many examples. I don't have time to share, but I do wholeheartedly agree. If you don't ask, how are you ever going to receive? And part of it is a quite often belief system of, I'm not worthy of receiving it, so why should I bother asking? So what would happen if you believed you were worthy of receiving it? How would your energy shift?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was just going to say, another thing I wanted to ask you about, because I'm sure this comes up a lot, and I'm thinking in my own business and just life experience of our money mindset from when we were growing up, or like what our family story was. And I came from a money mindset of lack, and there was never enough, and there was struggle around that. And so it's been really interesting, and I've had to do my own inner work around letting it be okay for me to be successful. Mm-hmm. And allowing the success partly means breaking from a family story of, quote, we always struggle around money.
Yeah.
And that's been a really, really powerful thing, to go from a lack mindset to an abundance mindset. And I started doing this work in a variety of ways, but I wonder if you do anything similar with your clients. I once had a money coach in a coaching program I was working with. One of the coaches was a money mindset coach. And he said to like physically keep money out so you could see it. Mm-hmm. And I started doing this. I used to be that type of person who never had more than $20 in my wallet. Like, I would use credit cards. I always only spent within my monthly means, but I started actually touching cash for the first time like a year ago. And it was amazing, because I would sometimes take a client check and take that, $200 and use it in my wallet to go get coffee rather than pull out my Amex. And I started touching cash more often. And the funniest thing happened. more cash ended up in my wallet than was leaving my wallet. Like once a week, I would cash a check and use that for spending money. And I've gone from having maybe 20 to 40 bucks tops in my wallet. At any given time, I could have a couple of hundred. And I've shifted how I feel about touching money. And it's been so interesting to shift my relationship to seeing it, to touching it, to passing it on, paying. Like when I go get a massage, I will pay in cash. So I'm kind of spreading the circle of giving and receiving, of touching this money. I went to acupuncture recently and I paid her in cash, and she's like, ooh, cash. It created just this really beautiful reciprocity of giving and receiving, which is something I've never done before. It's been so interesting, which kind of all goes back to my family of origin story around lack.
Yeah. And you can do that even through there's two things I want to say about that. One is we can do, I think that's a fabulous thing, and I'll share my own story on that. But the second thing I want to share before that is that you can do that through even electronically, like bless your bills. Right. So if, for example, my heat and light bill comes to my inbox and it gets taken out of my account every month, like blessing your bills. Like how often are we like, oh, my cell phone bill, like, oh, they're charging me through the roof, or like my internet, whatever. Like, it's just like, wow, like imagine if we never had these services to be billed for. Like if we didn't have internet, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. Right. Like, probably wouldn't even met you. I wouldn't have known about that event most likely.
Yep.
So there's such blessings in our lives. And but yeah, the experience of the money, this is it's such a great exercise because it can really reveal your blocks around money. And I remember when I did it, I put $100 in my wallet. And one of the first things to come to mind was like, what if somebody steals this from me? Right? And so there was this fear about it being taken from me. And then the second thing to come up was, I remember when I opened my wallet to pay for something, and I was thinking, oh my God, they're going to think like, who is this woman carrying around $100 cash in her wallet? So there was fear of judgment. So, and my biggest money block that I work on is the fear of judgment around my money, right? The fear of like having nice things and traveling and having more money than the average Joe kind of thing. And like the fear around the judgment around that. So it's very interesting and a great little tool for your readers, or not your readers, your listeners to apply, is just carrying some cash and feel out your energy around the money. And a great thing that if they want to go a little step deeper is write a love letter to money as if it's a person.
I love that.
Write a love letter as if it's a person. So what would you want? And as if you're going to, form the most beautiful, loving relationship possible. So even if you've had the most tumultuous relationship where, you've been fighting partners and it's been cheating on you and all that kind of stuff, like get it all out of like,
which means just like any other relationship, you have to foster it.
Exactly. So how often in our money relationship are we lacking trust?
Yeah.
Right. And from a law of attraction manifesting point of view, I mean, if we apply it to a romantic relationship, if we don't trust our partner, that has us going crazy.
Emily, I love how you're bringing this back to it's a relationship.
Yeah. I mean, that. If we don't trust our partner, if they go out, say some night, in my case, like I'm with a man, if he goes out with his guy friends and I don't trust him, I'm like, where are you? Can you text me? Like send me, FaceTime me, like I'm going crazy. I'm like tracking when he comes home. I'm like checking in with his, like it gets you crazy.
There's a lot of insecurity there. Yeah,
exactly. So we do that.
And behind the insecurity is I'm not worthy. Or at least, one of the stories could be. Yeah. So, I mean, it goes all the same. So I'm feeling compelled. And in our last few moments, I want to end I'm feeling really compelled to share this story with you. And I don't think I've shared it before on the podcast, but if I have, I apologize for a repeat story. But I was 16. I was going into my senior year of high school. And my dad had died when I was 10. My dad was in the car business. And he had got my brother and sister both cars when they were 16. But he had died, and I had some money from when he died. Anyhow, that's kind of the background. So it's the weekend before school started my senior year, and I needed a car that year. And my mom and my sister and I and some family friends, we were on vacation on the central coast of California, this beautiful little teeny tiny town near the beach. And my sister and I, we're all at lunch, and my sister and I go into the bathroom like we had our entire lives. And she said to me, Jory, if you dropped $100 bill in the toilet, would you reach in and pick it out? And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
It was just like a random question. Okay, so we left the bathroom. We walked outside to the outdoor garden of this restaurant, and it was kind of a breezy day. And something catches my eye on the ground, and I look over, and it's $100 bill folded up.
Yeah.
And it didn't look like anyone had just dropped it. It was breezy, and the money wasn't moving. It was just sitting there. Mm-hmm. And I'm looking around, and I'm like, okay. I reach down and I pick it up, and I put it in my pocket, and I'm like, Mom, come on. Like, I was afraid, like, I didn't feel like I was stealing, but I didn't want to take someone's money. But I waited a while, and no one, looked like they were going to claim it. So I took it. So we went out to the street, and I'm holding this $100 bill, and I look at my sister, and I'm like, Marnie, our entire lives, we've ever been in a bathroom together. Why did you ask that question right now?
Yeah.
And she said, I don't know. It's a question Daddy used to always ask. So I'm like, okay. And as we're driving away, the name of the street that we were on was Burton Drive, and my dad's name was Burton.
Oh, wow.
So then fast forward 6 weeks later, I needed a car. I had reached out to the executor of the trust saying, I need money for a used car. He gave me $8,000. I went car shopping. Can you guess the exact total of the car that I found?
What was it?
$8,100.
Oh my God.
And I was like, okay, Dad, thanks for the car, because I really felt that $100 bill was like a sign from him saying, Jory, here's the extra money you need for this car.
Oh, and wow.
I talk about blessing your bills. The $100 bill actually had some Arabic handwriting on it, and I never got it interpreted, because like part of me was going to be like, hey, Jory, enjoy your new car. Love, Dad. But when I went to the bank to deposit the $100 bill, I'm like, take very good care of this. It's a really important bill. And they're like, yeah, whatever. But it was one of the very first times I ever remember receiving a sign of the universe. One of the very first times I ever remember having this different relationship to money.
Oh, yeah.
It's still one of my most powerful stories of receiving and connection.
Wow.
And there. So thanks for investing me in my storytelling.
I love that story. I love it. That's so cool.
I can't make this shit up. I have to.
Yeah.
So Emily, I love what you're offering to people. If people want to work with you, what do you offer to them? So if any of our listeners are like, oh my gosh, I am so stuck on this money mindset. I need more abundance so I can have income and impact. How can they find you? What do you offer?
Yeah. So at any given time, there are two freebies you can get when you go to my website. I have an abundance meditation, because I know we didn't dive into it today, but meditation is huge in my world, and just centering yourself and getting aligned with yourself. Yeah. So I do have a meditation I created to help you bring in abundance and be that magnet for abundance. So go check that out, folks. And then there's also, I'm a firm believer in mantras and affirmations, and, flooding your brain with all the positive things you want to feel and know and believe to be true about money. So I created an audio. It's a 20-minute audio of 222, I call them the 222 rich woman affirmations.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So when you download the abundance meditation, you'll also get it in your inbox as a little bonus, that little audio there too. So that's some freebies. And then by all means, your audience can check me out on Instagram. It's therichwoman.inc. They can check out my website, therichwoman.ca.
We'll have all these links in the show notes as well.
Yeah. So check, and perhaps at the time of this airing, I'll have my membership doors open if they want to check me out in my membership. There's lots of ways, but I'd say if this resonated with your audience, by all means, I invite them to check out my free stuff on Instagram, Facebook, all the goodness. And and then go from there. Whatever they feel called to do or reach out to me about, by all means, they can.
I love it.
And
I'm feeling super inspired because there's all these things I want to continue to manifest. And I've been noticing some of that inner critic ego talk. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'm super inspired right now. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. And I definitely look forward to the manifestation and for all of us who are listening, because I'm 100% believer in it. And it sounds like you definitely are really, really a great resource for your clients to get past whatever blocks are in their way. So yes, everyone, please check out Emily. And thank you so much for your time today. And I'm so happy that we met, and I look forward to continuing our relationship, both professionally and personally outside of our conference calls and other ways of supporting each other, because I think what you're doing is really awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. All right. Take care, everyone, and go manifest and create impact.
To continue your journey forward, find Jory Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat. Visit her at joryrose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.